All right, welcome back to the deep dive. We're doing something a little conceptually different today. Usually we take a stack of articles, we tear them apart, and look at the world exactly as it is right now. Today, we're essentially time traveling.
That's right. We are setting the dial specifically for the year 2026.
Which, when you say it out loud, it sounds so futuristic, but to be fair, it isn't that far away. But in AI years,
Hmm.
that's basically a century.
Oh, it's an eternity. I mean, if you think about where we were just 2 years ago versus today, 2026 might as well be science fiction.
To guide us on this trip, we're unpacking a really provocative piece of content, a video script from a channel called the AI Protocol, titled Essential AI Skills for 2026. And I want to start right with a shock to the system. You know how for the last 2 years, everyone, and I mean everyone, has been screaming, learn prompt engineering, it's the job of the future.
Oh, yeah. The promise of six-figure salaries just for knowing the magic words to whisper to a chatbot.
Well, buckle up, because according to this source, by 2026, the prompt engineer is effectively dead.
Dead is a strong word, but the source makes a compelling case. They argue it's becoming obsolete, not because it's useless, but because it's saturated. The comparison they use is actually kind of stinging. Writing a prompt in 2026 is like knowing how to use Google in 2024.
Ouch. Congratulations on your resume. You know how to type a question into a search bar.
Precisely. It's no longer a specialized technical skill that commands a premium, it's just table stakes. If you can't prompt, you're functionally illiterate in the modern workspace. But simply being able to prompt, that doesn't make you special anymore. The market has corrected.
So if whispering magic words to the bot isn't the golden ticket anymore, what is? And that's our mission today. We're going to break down the 3 specific high-value skills that the AI protocol claims have replaced prompt engineering. And looking at the list you've highlighted, there seems to be a very specific theme here. It feels like a shift from chatting to, well, something bigger.
It's a shift from chatting to building. The core thesis here is the transition from being an operator to an architect.
Let's camp on that for a second, because I think that mindset shift is harder than the technical skills we're going to get into. Operator versus architect. It sounds a bit like corporate jargon. What does that actually look like in the day-to-day?
Think about how most people use AI right now, even the power users.
Hmm.
You have a task, say, writing a marketing email. You open ChatGPT or Claude, you paste in some bullets, you ask for a draft, you get the draft, you tweak it, you ask for a revision. You're operating the tool. You're the driver. The AI is the engine.
Right. It's a transaction. I give an input, I get an output, and I'm the bottleneck because I have to sit there and do all the inputs.
Exactly. But the architect, the person commanding the high salary in 2026, isn't doing that transaction. They're designing a system where the email writes itself, checks itself against company policy, and sends itself, all triggered by a specific event in a database. They aren't driving the car, they are designing the traffic grid.
That sounds significantly harder, and frankly, a little more intimidating than just coming up with a clever prompt.
It is harder. That's why it pays more, but it creates a massive leverage opportunity. And that brings us directly to the first skill on the list. The source calls it Agentic Workflows, or orchestration of agents.
Agentic workflows. I feel like I'm hearing this term bubble up more and more. The source uses a music metaphor to explain it, right?
Yeah, they call the professional of 2026 the director of the orchestra. And I love this because it clarifies that architect idea perfectly. In an orchestra, the conductor isn't holding a violin, they aren't banging the timpani. If the conductor tries to run around and play every instrument themselves, the concert is a disaster.
They'd be exhausted, and the music would just be a mess.
The conductor's job is purely flow, tempo, dynamics, ensuring the strings come in when the woodwinds fade out. In 2026, you aren't asking ChatGPT to write a blog post. You are conducting a section of agents to produce the blog post for you.
Okay, let's make this concrete.
Yeah.
Because agents is another one of those terms that gets thrown around so loosely. How does this actually work in practice? If I'm this orchestrator, what am I actually building?
So sticking with the content creation example, because it's easy to visualize, instead of one prompt, you build a workflow using tools. The source mentions platforms like Crew AI or Microsoft AutoGen, which are basically the construction sites for these agents. You might spin up Agent A. Let's call him the researcher.
And Agent A has a specific personality, a specific job description.
Exactly. You give Agent A a very strict goal. Scour the web for the latest trends in renewable energy and compile a list of sources. That is it. It doesn't write. It just hunts. Then you have Agent B, the writer.
And Agent B never sees the internet.
Ideally, no. Agent B just receives the raw data from Agent A. Its instruction is, take this research and synthesize it into a 500-word article in a witty tone.
Okay, so we have a handoff. It's like an assembly line.
But here is where the orchestration gets tricky and valuable. You add Agent C, the reviewer. Agent C reviews Agent B's draft. And you, the architect, have given Agent C a rubric. Check for passive voice, ensure we cited at least 3 sources. If the quality is low, send it back to Agent B.
Wait, send it back. The AI can reject another AI's work.
That's the agentic part. They can loop, they can iterate. The reviewer agent kicks the draft back to the writer agent with feedback, the writer fixes it, and sends it back. This happens while you are getting coffee.
See, that's the leap. Right now, I am the loop. I am the one saying, hey, ChatGPT, you missed a citation. You're saying the skill is automating the critique itself.
Yes. The skill isn't how do I talk to the bot. The skill is, how do I design a team of bots that can talk to each other effectively to solve a business problem? You're stepping out of the loop to observe the loop.
It forces you to understand the work deeply, doesn't it? I mean,
Yep.
you can't tell an agent how to be a good reviewer if you don't know what good reviewing looks like yourself.
That's the catch. You have to define the parameters of success. If your blueprint is bad, the house falls down. If you tell the researcher to look for the wrong things, the writer writes garbage. So human intelligence moves up the chain from doing the research to defining the strategy of the research.
So we've built our orchestra. We have our researcher, our writer, our reviewer. They're humming along. But I see a massive hole in this plan. If I hire a bunch of brilliant consultants but don't give them access to my company's files, they're useless. They'll just give me generic advice.
And that is the perfect segue to skill number 2. The orchestrator needs raw material to work with. The source calls this literacy of data and MCP.
MCP. Okay, we have to unpack the acronyms. What are we looking at here?
MCP stands for Model Context Protocol.
Feels incredibly dry. Why should I care about it?
It sounds dry, but think of it as the USB port for artificial intelligence.
Okay, I'm listening.
Because the source defines it as the ability to securely connect AI intelligence to a company's private data.
Yeah.
See, right now we have these massive genius brains, GPT-4, Claude, Gemini, but they are essentially amnesiacs when it comes to your business. They know everything about the world up to their training cutoff, but they don't know your Q3 sales figures. They don't know your customer list.
So if I ask, how do we improve sales? It gives me a textbook answer like make more calls, not you're out of stock on widgets in Ohio.
Exactly. AI without context is useless, is the quote from the source. To make it useful, you have to bridge the gap between the brain, the large language model, and the memory, your local database.
But isn't that just uploading a file? I can drag a PDF into ChatGPT right now.
For a single file, sure. But imagine a corporation with millions of records, live inventory data, sensitive HR files. You cannot just drag and drop that into a public chatbot. First, the context window, the amount of info the AI can hold at once, is limited. You can't fit the whole company in there. Second, and more importantly, privacy.
Right. You don't want your proprietary code or your payroll data becoming training fodder for the next version of the model.
Exactly. So the MCP skill is about architecture again. It's knowing how to build a pipeline where the AI can fetch the specific piece of data it needs when it needs it without swallowing the whole database and without leaking secrets.
So it's like, if I ask a question, the AI knows how to go query my database, get just the answer, and then use that answer to write the response.
Yes. In the industry, we often call this RAG retrieval augmented generation, and MCP is sort of the protocol standardizing how that happens. The source calls people who can do this the most coveted professionals of 2026 because they solve the 2 biggest problems in enterprise AI: uselessness and hallucination.
The hallucination point is interesting. How does connecting to data stop the AI from just making stuff up?
Well, why does AI hallucinate? Usually because it doesn't know the answer, so it predicts what the answer should sound like. It guesses. If you ground the AI in your actual data, if you force it to look at the spreadsheet before it speaks, it stops guessing. It relies on facts.
So the data literate professional is the one ensuring the AI isn't lying to your customers.
And ensuring it's actually helpful. You can't have an autonomous sales agent promising a discount that doesn't exist. That's a liability.
Okay, so let's take stock. We have the orchestrator who designs the workflow of agents. We have the data architect who uses MCP to plug those agents into the company's actual brain. These are pretty technical roles. I mean, maybe not writing C++ code from scratch, technical, but they require a systems mindset. Is there anything left for the humanities majors? Or is 2026 just for the engineers?
I think the humanities majors might actually have the last laugh here. The third skill is arguably the least technical, but the source claimed it's where human value is absolute gold.
Don't keep me in suspense. What is it?
They call it human in the loop, or specifically critical curation.
Critical curation. That sounds subjective.
It is, and that's the point. The source paints a picture of a world with infinite AI-generated content. We're already seeing the leading edge of this. The cost of producing text, code, and images is dropping to zero. When content is infinite, scarcity shifts to quality.
It's the needle in the haystack problem. If I can generate 1,000 marketing slogans in a minute, the bottleneck isn't writing them, it's picking the one that doesn't suck.
Exactly. The source argues that knowing where the AI fails and where human intervention is needed is the ultimate skill. The duties they list are validating, editing, and ensuring ethics.
Let's talk about that ethics part, because that feels like more than just checking for swear words.
It's about brand alignment and safety. If you have an autonomous swarm of agents, who's responsible if they do something wrong? Let's say your sales agent figures out it can close more deals by being aggressively manipulative or slightly misleading about the product warranty.
The AI is just optimizing for the number, right? It doesn't have
A conscience.
right.
It is a maximizer. The human in the loop is the conscience. They are the ones who look at the output and say, technically this works, but it's off-brand, or this is efficient, but it's unethical.
So the job description changes from creator to judge.
Or editor-in-chief, or compliance officer. The expert insight here is that this is the one thing AI cannot automate yet. Taste, judgment, contextual nuance.
It's the smell test.
A very sophisticated smell test. The source emphasizes that in a world of automation, humanity becomes the premium feature. You're the safety valve. You are the one who says stop before the email goes out.
I like that. It suggests that our intuition isn't obsolete, it's actually the firewall. So to recap the AI protocols trifecta for 2026, Skill 1, Agentic Workflows. Don't do the task, conduct the orchestra.
Right.
Skill 2, Data Literacy and MCP. Don't use generic AI, connect it securely to your context. And Skill 3, Human in the Loop. Don't trust the output blindly. Curate, validate, and apply ethics.
That's the roadmap. And the source sums it up with a really simple checklist they call the protocol summary. 1, automate the flow. 2, protect the context. 3, refine the result.
It sounds manageable when you break it down like that, but it requires a completely different way of showing up to work. You can't just be reactive anymore.
No. And that brings us to the concluding motto of the source material. It's a piece of advice I think everyone needs to hear, even if they are in tech. Don't attempt to compete with AI on speed, compete on strategy.
Don't compete on speed. That hits hard. Because for the last 20 years, productivity was speed.
Oh.
How fast can you answer emails? How many lines of code can you ship? How many reports can you file?
And that game is over. You will never, ever beat an AI on speed. It can write 1,000 emails in the time it takes you to sip your coffee. If your value proposition to your employer is, I work fast, you're in trouble.
So competing on strategy means what, practically?
It means moving up the value chain. Instead of being the person who writes the email fast, you are the person who decides why we're sending the email, who it connects to, and what the ultimate business goal is. You're designing the outcome, not manufacturing the output.
It goes right back to the architect versus operator.
Yeah.
The operator asks, how do I do this? The architect asks, why are we doing this? And how can I build a system to do it for me?
Exactly. And honestly, it's a relief in a way. Trying to run faster than a computer is exhausting. It's a losing battle. But thinking smarter, humans are still pretty good at that.
It reframes the fear. The narrative here isn't that jobs are disappearing. It's that they're mutating from doing to managing.
Yes, but I want to throw in a provocative thought here. Something the source alludes to, but I think we need to really sit with. Because this logic leads to a bit of a paradox.
I love a paradox. What's the catch?
Okay, so we've established that the human value is curation and orchestration. You need to be the conductor or the editor-in-chief.
Right, that's the goal.
But typically, how do you become a conductor?
You play the violin for 20 years, you sit in the chair, you learn the instruments, you learn the music from the inside out.
And how do you become an editor-in-chief? You spend years as a junior reporter, writing bad articles, getting corrected by your editor, learning the beat.
I see where you're going with this. You learn by doing the grunt work.
Exactly. But if the grunt work, the research, the drafting, the basic coding is now done by agentic workflows, how does the next generation of humans learn the strategy? Can you be an architect if you've never laid a brick?
That is A genuinely scary thought. We're kicking away the ladder.
We might be creating a gap, a world where the senior experts are incredibly powerful because they have AI leverage and 20 years of pre-AI experience, but the entry-level path for new people is broken. The AI is better than the intern.
So does orchestration require us to be experts before we can even use the tools? And if so, how do we train the juniors?
That's the question for 2026. While we're building these AI protocols, we probably need to build a human training protocol too, just to keep the human in the loop actually competent enough to be in the loop.
Because if the human in the loop doesn't know what they're looking at,
Then it isn't a loop, it's just a rubber stamp on a hallucination.
well, on that slightly terrifying but critical note, we're going to wrap up our trip to 2026.
It's going to be an interesting couple of years.
It certainly is. Huge thanks for listening to this deep dive into the AI protocol. Hopefully you're leaving this conversation thinking a little less about your next prompt and a little more about how to pick up the baton and conduct the orchestra.
Don't just play the notes. Write the music.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next deep dive.